Hey everybody, welcome to Sefer Hamitzvot. So we are going to recap from Shabbos and Sunday because I don't want to miss the flow of inappropriate relations. So we're going to quickly run through them. Negative Mitzvah 352 is uncle and nephew incest. Ervas achi avicha le'segale. Do not commit a sexual offense against your father's brother. So homosexuality between uncle and nephew is not allowed. Negative 347, this is the prohibition against adultery. I remember, as a kid, you know the word adultery, but you don't really know what it means. This is the pasuk is Vel Eshes Amisecha Leisitin Shechbascha Lazera. Do not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife. A married woman is off limits. End of story. Bottom line. Worst thing. Rather give up your life than do. This is called an Eshes Ish, a married woman. And as we know, of course, it's one of the 10 Commandments. It's also brought down here as one of the sources. Lo sin af. Obviously, both the man and the woman who committed this crime are punished. Okay. Negative 346. A woman who is menstruating, you are not allowed to sleep with. Val isha benidas tamasa loy sikrav. So this is the formal source in the Torah for the laws of mikvah, which means that when a woman's a nida, when she is menstruating, and that can last for years and months until she goes to the mikvah, she has the status of nida, no matter how long it's been. So, in other words, every single girl is a nida, and when you go before your wedding, you go to the mikvah, whether it's from the period that just happened or your period from 4 years ago, you are a nida. This is a big deal, as we know, and there's a lot of details to this mitzvah. Okay. Now we're going to do day 92, which was yesterday, Sunday. Negative 52. The mitzvah is that you are not allowed to intermarry. Newsflash. Below sitzchatin bam is one of the psukim. The other one is bitcha laisitein levnai vita laisikach v'necha. Do not give your daughter to their son, and do not take their daughter for your son. Any not Jewish person is not allowed to marry a Jewish person. Full stop, end of story. Okay, next. Negative 53. We are forbidden from marrying male descendants of Ammon and Moab, even if they converted. Okay, so the pasuk is La Yavai, Amanai, Umayavai, Amayni, Umayavi, Bikal Hashem. An Ammon and Moab man is not allowed to marry any Jewish girl, even if he converted. Of course, we know, like the story of Rus, an Ammon and Moab woman can be accepted, and she married. Rus was a Moabite princess, converted, and she married Boaz, and she's the mother of King David and Mashiach. So that's obvious on that front. Why? Because they were not hospitable to us when we were traveling the desert. It's as simple as that. Next, we have very interesting two other. I don't want to say cultures or, sources, places where we are allowed to marry them after 3 generations, even though you would maybe think otherwise. So negative 55 is lo sasaiv mitzri, do not despise the Egyptian. That means once there's 3 generations of converts from Egypt, an Egyptian convert, you are allowed to marry them. Obviously, we have a bone to pick with Egypt. They were the first ones to enslave us. But you are not allowed to hold that against them. It's not something that lingers for the rest of time. After 3 generations, they're fully immersed and they're allowed to marry a regular Jewish woman. Negative 54, similarly, is we're forbidden from distancing ourselves from the descendants of Esau, Edom. Same idea, after 3 generations of conversion, you are allowed to marry them. The pasuk is, Lo sasaiv Adami ki achicha hu, do not despise the Edomite, even though, again, they are the source of many of our issues. Why? Since he is your brother. There's a kinship that will always be there, and if it's appropriate, after 3 generations, you may marry. Negative 354 is the mitzvah about a mamzer, or how it's translated in English, a bastard. La yavar mamzer b'kal Hashem. This is a very, very sad one, because basically a mamzer is anyone who's a product of any of the arayas, all of these forbidden relations that we speak of. The product of that is a mamzer. The exception mainly is nida, right? If somebody was born out of nida, they are not a mamzer. They're They can marry whoever they choose. But a mamzer, it's forever. They can only marry a mamzer, and they're not allowed to be with anyone else. They're not allowed to marry anyone else. Okay. Negative 360 is about castration. The next two are. So this pasuk is Lo Yavai Petzua Daka V'Karos Shivcha B'Kal Hashem. A man with crushed testicles or a cut member may not enter the congregation of Hashem if, for whatever reason, that part of his body is unable to conceive and potentially give birth to children, create the birth possibilities for children. He is not allowed to have relations with a woman. In short, there always has to be purpose to relations. That's one of the main reasons why homosexuality is not allowed. We're not creating anything here. There's no potential for creation. Negative 361 is the castration, that you are not allowed to cause it for a human or for an animal. In your land, you may not do this. You may not castrate an animal or a person or a man. Okay. Now we come to today's set of mitzvos, number day 93. Okay. So first of all, negative 158. These are laws about priests, Kohanim and Kohanim Gedolim, high priests. In short, a priest, they're doing the highest service of Hashem. And now you may ask, the Beis Hamikdash doesn't exist. Well, it will exist. We believe, we act, we behave in a way that the Beis Hamikdash may be rebuilt at any moment. And so a Kohen still has to hold that purity, and there's a higher standard of existence and of living. So therefore, negative 158 is that a Kohen is not allowed to marry a Zona. A Zona refers to, in this case, it's loosely translated as prostitute, but in this case, what it's referring to, if a woman had been with a non-Jew intimately, or next of kin, one of the inappropriate relations. Isha Zona v'chalala lo yikachu. I know, like, whenever I set up anyone who's a Kohen with, girl, whatever, if they know and they're familiar with this, they'll say, like, basically, I'll be careful not to set them up with anyone that I know for sure was with a non-Jew at one point in their life. And then this leads us to the second. It's in the same pasuk, because Isha Zona, a Zona who slept with a guy, a non-Jew, and v'chalala lo yikachu. What's a chalala? This is negative 159. A chalala is a woman who had relations with a Kohen who was not allowed to. So let's say this woman who was a Zona, who had slept with a non-Jew, and she had relations with a Kohen, she broke this, and now she has a status of chalala. So someone who's a chalala is also not allowed to marry a Kohen. Okay, the next type of person a Kohen is not allowed to marry is a divorcee. The pasuk is v'isha gerusha me'isha lo yikachu. They shall not marry a woman who has been divorced from her husband. And people say, like, oh, what's the big deal? I'm just going to lose my status of Kohen. That's not a small thing. It's from Hashem. And don't put yourself in a position. Don't start dating a girl who's a divorcee and then be like, oh shoot, what should I do now? Okay, now we're talking about a Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol is a high priest. So this pasuk is Almana ugrusha v'chalala zona esela lo yikach. So he's not allowed to have a zona. He's not allowed to marry a chalala. He's not allowed to marry a divorcee, but he has an additional one. He's also not allowed to marry a widow. So a regular Kohen is allowed to marry a widow, but a Kohen Gadol, a high priest, is not allowed to marry a widow. And that's the additional mitzvah that we have for a Kohen Gadol. Next, negative 162. This is also only for a Kohen Gadol. V'lo yichal zara ba'amav. That even if he doesn't marry the widow, he is not allowed to have relations with a widow. So if a Kohen Gadol marries a widow, he's breaking two mitzvahs. He will then not profane his children, is the translation of the mitzvah. Next, we have, and the last one for today, this is actually a positive. All the mitzvahs we did for the last little while was negative. This one is a positive mitzvah. Again, for a Kohen Gadol, is that he is commanded to marry a virgin. The source of this commandment is, the pasuk is, V'hu isha b'vsuleha yikach. He shall take a virgin. And that shows on the highness of a Kohen Gadol and the specifics of how he has to be and the purity that he has to be a part of. All right, anyway,
Does the Kohen Gadol, if there's a Kohen who married a widow and then became a Kohen Gadol later on, does he have to divorce his?
Fantastic question. I'm going to assume no, but I will confirm that.
Good.
But I'm also wondering, like, if there's a status of like a maybe Kohen Gadol, like if they know that they're going to be the next Kohen Gadol, different nuances like that. I'll find out. Very interesting question. Okay, thanks, amazing. See you tomorrow. Toodaloo.